Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the Carver Capital Outlay Committee for February 11th, 2026 at 6:02 p.m. We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I want to say thank you to everyone for coming tonight. I know I had reached out to some department heads about coming in 2 weeks because I didn't realize that everyone had already been invited for tonight, but thank you. We'll start now. If Glenn and Karen and John show up, we'll just invite them into the meeting. So I just want to recap quick what we have right now for Carver Capital Outlay is the request we've received for $3.3 million for fiscal year 27. We have about, I believe, $1.3 million in the budget right now. So that's why we were hoping to talk to everybody and just let us know what is the most high level project you have on your list.
Hey, sorry, I'm late.
No, it's okay. So we have a lot of people, so we had started. So the school committee is going to go first, if everyone's all right with that for tonight.
The passwords are up. Sure.
Thank you very much.
This one's up here.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. Hey, everyone.
Hey, good evening.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let's just introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'm
You don't
Scott
mind?
Neef, Superintendent of the Carver Public Schools.
Yep, Ron Griffin, the business manager.
Thank you.
So thank you for having us. But before we hop into an updated version of the school department's proposals for FY27, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to the folks here, the department heads, to Glenn, our town administrator, Karen, our finance director. You started out, Beth, just setting the stage for what's a challenging fiscal year for everybody, certainly for Capital as well. And I just feel fortunate that, when we heard that news, the whole team came together and started to think creatively, try to find a way to collaborate with each other. It's not easy. No community right now, I think, is an easy spot in terms of the financial landscape. But I feel like Carver is poised because we've got good people who are ultimately just here to try to do best by the entire community. And I think in other communities, there can be that infighting and that fight over the, however limited resources there are. And I've been here now 5 years, I think, and any year that we've had these tough spots, we come together as department leaders and town leaders and elected officials to try to find a way through it. So we were just chatting about this the other day, and I just wanted to name that off the start. So thank you for your support and appreciate working with all these folks to find a way.
And I would certainly echo that, having been here as an administrator over the last 23 years. I've always found that that's the experience that I've had as well.
Yeah.
And Glenn, we left you out. We didn't give you an updated version.
Thank you.
So as you're looking at the updated version here, I want to be respectful of your time and everyone's time tonight. A lot of this document is the same as what you saw in November. What I'm going to do today, if you're okay with it, is just to give you the highlights of the changes. The context here, if you will, is, as we took a look at this as a group sort of across the town, we tried to find ways to prioritize and reprioritize and bump some things back that otherwise we think we can move, year to year. We then, after that meeting, sort of came together as a school department and said, what else can we do, knowing that $2 million and changed a lot of room, it's a lot of difference. So we sat with our team, put together proposals that the school committee was kind enough to review with us as well and vote forward. And so what I'll have for you today, if I can, is just the updates, the changes, and then open up to any questions that you might all have for us, yeah? So if you take a look at your document here and start on page 5, please, under facilities and equipment. For each of these, I'll give you a little bit of context for what the project is, why we're making the change, and then go on to the next project. So on page 5, we have as part of our facilities and equipment capital planning, we've got the middle high school athletics replacement plan, and this is a weight room renovation. It's a project that's been on our list for a number of years. We've punted a few years from time to time. We feel like this still remains a priority, but we're happy to report that our bids are coming in lower than anticipated, which is fantastic. And so the proposal for the update would be to move from $100,000 to just $80,000 based on the lowest quotes we have to date. The next page I'd direct your attention to would be page 6, also in facilities and equipment. This is for the central office and our alternative school program, both housed at 3 Carver Square Boulevard. And the project was proposed to remove and replace the siding on that building. The building is in need of that project for sure. The amount was originally $175,000, but just given the scale of the gap we have, our recommendation to the committee and what they ultimately voted was to postpone that to FY28. And in the meantime, we'll sort of work on high need repairs so that we can ensure we're not getting moisture into the building. It's New England, we get tough winters, certainly. The next page I direct your attention to would be page 9, still in facilities and equipment. The project is called the Elementary School Special Education Mobility Equipment. The original request was $25,000. I'd first just again like to thank Beth and Jackie Lake for your guidance and your expertise in the medical field. I'm certainly no medical professional, but in our last meeting here, we were chatting about this project and you'd flagged that this might be a project that Medicaid could cover and or insurance. So we did a bunch of homework on that. It can't cover all of it, but it can cover a bunch of it. And so our proposal will be to drop the entirety of it from the capital plan. We'll work through insurance and Medicaid. Again, thank you for the expertise and guidance on it. And the remainder we'll cover through the operating budget as necessary for these kiddos. The next update from our previous meeting to today is on page 13. It's under technology. So I guess I'll give you just a brief caveat about all things technology. Our proposal is ultimately going to be to drop all 3 of these technology projects from the FY27 capital plan with the hope of trying to cobble some together now and then probably moving some to future years. We're not exactly sure how many we can cobble together at this moment, but some of them are going to be pressing and we're going to need to try to tackle some of them. We'll do that in a couple of different ways and I'll dive into the detail in a moment. The first, though, is simply through some potential savings we see right now. So we're only about 5 months into the school year, which is halfway through our cycle, if you will. But we've had 2 major areas of savings for us. One has just been in special education tuitions. So kiddos who have really severe disabilities, we budget a certain amount of money that ultimately gets paid to tuitions for either collaboratives or private schools for them. We've been fortunate in that our local special education team has been able to provide those services for kiddos, which ultimately saves the taxpayer money. And frankly, is usually a pretty good service to those kiddos in terms of bringing them back to be educated here in their community with their peers wherever possible. Related to that, there was also transportation for those kiddos as well.
I just want to hit on that one in terms of special ed savings. I mean, most of the time, what you hear from the school department is special ed is driving our budget up.
True.
And this year, we've just been in a fortunate situation. Unanticipated, we've actually had a reduction in costs.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't happen very often, but it's happened this year, and it's going to give us a little bit of flexibility to hopefully be able to
do some of
this work through our operating budget and be able to pull those capital requests.
Yeah, for sure. And just to add to that, so part of that special education program in general is to get those kiddos to and from their location, be it a collaborative or a private. I know we've talked with this group many years in a row about the investments in the local communities transportation program. As of right now, all of our routes are in-house. And that's the first time, I've been here for 5 years, it's the first time, at least in 5 years, that we've had every route in-house. And it saves a tremendous amount of money because we're not a private institution. We don't make money on this, we break even. And so between those 2 major areas, we feel like we have some savings now to start to try to cobble together some of this work. In addition to that, we're going to continue to push on grants. Technology is often an area where there can be grants. I'll talk about that in a moment, as well as some federal programming, one in particular, E-rate, and I'll get to that too. So I just wanted to give you some context for this, and then we'll dive into it if I can. Page 13 is the first one. This is district-wide student devices, Chromebooks. Again, a little context for this. Our proposal will be to pull the entire $130,000 request down to zero. Little context. During the pandemic, the federal government put aside tranches of money that you could apply for Carver was fortunate enough to apply for and be awarded tranches of funding to the order of about $350,000, $360,000 to get one-to-one student devices, which all of your children now use here in the schools. The challenge to that, of course, is that you had all those devices at the same time, which means they all come to end of life around the same time as well, versus having like a cycle of year to year. So the intention with this project over the couple of years that you see on your capital plan is to start to get the community back into that cycle so that you don't have a single set of equipment, you've got cycled set of equipment, right? We are fortunate to say that our new assistant superintendent, Mr. Mills, has really hit the ground running, and in his first few months was able to secure a grant for about $50,000 for Chromebooks for the school department. So it's not the entire amount of it, but it gets us off to the right track. And our goal will be, again, talking about those different buckets of money, to try to cobble this together with maybe some combination of grants, maybe some postponement of this a year out if necessary, and any savings we can use this year to try to get that equipment cycle going for Chromebooks. The next two are on the next subsequent pages. So page 14. Middle high school educational technology, this is staff devices. This is actually phase 2 of what was, a two-phase project that we started last year. Our stance on this would be to pull the entire $65,000 to zero. Likely this would end up being postponed. We don't anticipate there's going to be a whole lot of grant money. We'll certainly continue to pound the pavement for it. We don't see a lot of federal opportunities for this kind of equipment necessarily, but if you see some and you know of any, as we had the conversation last, send them my way, please and thank you. We'll always apply, we'll always try for it. We anticipate this will probably end up being postponed to a later year. The last one on page 15, the proposals for $75,000 for the school district network infrastructure. This is switches and Wi-Fi access points, APs. This would be phase 1 of 2. This is vital to your network infrastructure. This runs all of the data going in and out of your schools, and ultimately becomes a pass point for most of the data in your municipal government.
The town, right.
Yeah. So we feel like this is a top priority for us, but similar as I mentioned earlier, we think we can use some savings. There's also another sort of stream of money that we're going to re-examine. There's a federal program called E-rate. You may already be familiar with it. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I'm sorry if I'm boring you if you've already heard it before. E-rate's this federal program that essentially takes federal dollars and says, hey, communities, if you need help getting your community members, kiddos, adults, access to the internet, E-rate can help. And there's all these different categories. Recently, the federal government has dissolved some of those categories and started to reduce this program in general. One of the categories, category 2, is the one that this thing falls under. It's broken up into 5-year tranches. And you typically, what you do strategically is you be conservative and you use it a little bit each year, right? So that you're never, like we're having the Chromebooks, set with a whole pile of stuff that's all going to get end of year. However, given that the federal government has taken actions to order to reduce some of the programming, we have some concerns they may want to dissolve it entirely. And so
And they've hinted at wanting to, there's been some discussion that they're going to dissolve the program.
So our intention would be to potentially try to get all of our 5 years or a bunch of our 5 years of E-rate front-loaded. That's a strategic challenge and a sort of calculated risk, right? So if the thing exists for the next couple of years and we've used it all up front, we may find ourselves short in out years. But given the gap that we have, we think it's a risk that's worth taking, and it allows us to front-load the infrastructure potentially here. So it would be a combination of potentially some of those savings if we continue on the trajectory that we're projecting right now, barring no big spikes in our costs, and sort of re-examining how we tackle E-rate and trying to front-load E-rate for this particular project. All in, those changes will save the town about $490,000 on our proposal. So our original proposal in November, the better part of $823, brings you down to $333. We know that it's not perfect. We know that the strategies that we're implementing here certainly have pros and cons to them, but we just feel, given the gap that we have, that this is the right approach to try to tackle this in a way that hopefully gets the town whole when it comes to capital. I'll answer any questions that you have and add anything I may have missed.
The only thing I would add, not that you're necessarily concerned about what our internal priorities now would be, it would certainly, we need to do the infrastructure project for the network switches, and we feel confident that we can get that done. Our next level would be the Chromebooks. the one-to-one devices, and then, then hopefully we'll be able to do the teacher devices as well, but if that needs to go back a year, that can go back a year. And then I don't know if you want us to look at what's remaining and
Yeah.
prioritize those.
Yeah, that's what I was
But our
gonna
priority
ask
would be all of them.
you. Okay,
But then taking a step back from that, if we had to prioritize, we could certainly talk about that.
okay.
So I guess questions first about what we're pulling from the list?
Do you
If
guys
there
have
are
any
any?
questions?
Anybody else? If I'm a little bit confused. First of all, hell of a job, bringing this down from 8.3 to 333. That's great. But the network infrastructure switches, you took it off, but you're still getting it done because of cost savings?
No, sir.
No.
You're not doing, so you're not doing it.
We're going to try to do it. We're taking it off of this proposal. Our goal with all of the technology will be to use those 3 buckets. Any savings we have here in FY26, combined with any grants, and for the tech infrastructure, E-rate, which is a special federal funding that really only applies to that particular project. So the goal with all the technology will be to front load any of those savings, grants, E-rate to that technology first, to the infrastructure, the network. And then if there's remaining funds, it would be Chromebooks. If there's anything left, certainly we'd do the staff devices. We don't anticipate that would be the case.
And on the 71 passenger bus, that's the 2014 that I think we saw last year. That's the one that got moved off the last year's schedule, right?
No, we have multiple 2014s in the fleet. But yes, last year you dropped.
We dropped one last
So
year,
this is
right?
getting that one back.
Yeah. So that would be a priority for us, doing the bus would be a priority this year.
Yeah.
No, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Thank you.
All right, I just want to make sure we have this.
Yeah.
All of these would be a top priority.
Well, the bus would be number one, I would
The
think.
bus would be number 1, okay. Just so we know,
Yeah.
as Wilkin, what is your absolute top priority on the list? Okay.
And then after that, we, like I said, they're all certainly important. And I think if, we're hoping we wouldn't get to that situation where you'd say, okay, we got to take 2 of these other things off the list. But then we'd want to have I think we'd want to just be part of that discussion, quite honestly. So we're more than welcome to come back and invite us back if we get to that point where we're feeling like we had that we're not going to be able to fund the 333 that's currently there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll let you know. We do have another meeting on the 25th. Just so you know.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
This
Appreciate
is
it.
great work. Thank you. So if we want to just go down the list, we would have fire next, if you're ready.
Yes, we went. So that was a combination.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Why don't you go through the projects? I'll go through the projects quick and I'll go at the end.
Okay.
You just-
Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. We
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
No problem. Nice seeing everybody.
Yes, so we're just meeting because we really just want to make sure we know what everyone's top priorities are for this year. So we wanted to.
I think the way we'll run it today is, for us, I mean, Eric will go through the projects pretty
Okay.
quick, so you'll know what they are. And then we'll quickly discuss which ones are our priorities. Obviously, they're all priorities, but which ones we've made some changes that we can make some changes, and then I'll just follow up with a couple comments and go from there.
Perfect, sounds good.
All right. Eric Jermaine, Deputy Fire Chief. Thanks for having us this evening. So in our capital plan for FY27, we have 3 items and listed in that booklet in order of priority. The first priority would be our personal protective equipment, which, for those that don't know, there's a description there, but it includes structural PPE, so personal protective equipment, which is coat, pant, helmet, boots, gloves, hood for structural firefighting, and then also pant and coat of brush gear, wildland PPE, so it's a combo. Right now, the quoting that we have came in at about $800,000. That is that is taking advantage of what we would get for bulk discounting. So those are things that, we had some questions early on about trying to defer some of it or splitting the order and things like that. But we lose that bulk discounting when we move away from a bulk purchase. So right now, our PPE that we are currently in is approaching 10 years old, and unfortunately, the NFPA standard, the 10-year is kind of the critical cutoff. And in addition to the NFPA standard, we really run into the issue with the fire academy, where our firefighters, when we go for courses or classes or certification, anything that requires PPE, the fire academy won't allow us to participate. So that cuts all of our educational, those components that we rely on to get certified for our firefighters. We're unable to do that. Additionally, 10 years worth of use in fire gear, obviously depending on, each person and how many fires they go to and things like that. But just the wear and tear over 10 years, if you looked at a lot of our members' gear, it's torn and tattered, things like that. We spend, a fair amount of money on repairs and things of that nature. And then it comes down to, again, the biggest piece is firefighter safety. So, the safety component, and then, no one likes to talk about the liability piece. God forbid something happened and, we get a hold of, hey, your gear's out of compliance and things like that. So, so that obviously, that's our #1 priority for this year. And any questions on that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Again, I know nothing about protective gear and its life and whatnot, but would it make sense, what if you had something where it was staggered, where you did, how many you need for all the guys if you did them every 3 years? So within, in theory, a 9-year period, you're hitting that 10-year mark,
Sure.
and you don't have this big nut every 10 years, you kind of, is that something that, I mean, I know you talked about, you buy in bulk, you get a discount savings.
Correct.
But if you did it, first of all, would it work doing it in 3-year tranches? Secondly, I'm not asking you for a number. What would the hit be if we lost those discounts? Don't
So-
need it now, but if you...
Right, so a couple things. Again, like you say, the bulk discount goes away. And then from year to year, there are changes in the PPE when so for instance, a fabric run, believe it or not, take it at baseline. So fabric run, you might get, if you ordered gear this year and then follow it up again next year, the fabric color actually, even though you're ordering the same exact thing, it's a different color. So one of the things we look for is uniformity, and so you would be able to see that. Things change, you won't be able to be uniform, I guess, is one of the biggest things, as far as that goes. We have looked in the past about staggering our gear purchase. Believe it or not, based on NFPA, we're supposed to have 2 sets of gear. So one primary set that we're wearing when we're working, and then when we do our job and we get soiled and they need to go to decontamination, it goes to decon and we do all that, and then we have a second set to wear. We make it work with 1 set, but you can imagine the cost of trying to outfit our firefighters with 2 sets. So we're trying to balance all that, and again, the staggering approach, not that it wouldn't work, and we did look at it a couple years back, but it takes time to implement, and then again, we're running into those issues where uniformity and those types of things.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, one thing, John, we did have a brief discussion about it, whether or not, instead of having this one big hit, I'm with the fire department here, they're better off, I think, getting all the gear. They talked about how the training goes. They're all training on the same gear, things do change over the years. Maybe having some free cash set aside, if it's every 10 years, I don't know, it'd be less than $100,000 a year, and we're just putting that aside every single year, and then when you get this 10-year hit, you're not getting this $800,000, or you are getting an $800,000 hit, but you have some money in the reserve fund to kind of offset it, because it takes a big chunk out of the capital budget that we have. That's all. So that's one thing we did discuss.
And over the years, we have been successful grant-wise with PPE, but in today's day and age, the grants, your gear needs to be over 10 years old before the grant will allow you to apply. And then even at the 10-year mark, when you get over that, you're still not desirable as departments that have gears that's 12, 13, 15 years old. So you're taking a gamble, and we played that gamble the last time we purchased, and we lost. We didn't get the gear, we didn't get the grant, and then the academy shut us off, and then so it turned into kind of a learning experience where so it's kind of catch-22 circle. Any more questions on PBE? Okay. So the second item on our capital request is the rehab of our rescue truck, so our heavy rescue. It's a 2006 Hackney rescue truck. It's approaching 20 years old, and you know, the Chief's done a remarkable job over the years. Our capital plan, we do a 10-year capital, and so you can watch our apparatus as the age come down that line in the capital plan. And they usually, you know, they're in there for replacement. But we take care of our equipment, as we should. And so, for instance, the brush breakers that had just come through the capital process were rehabbed as opposed to replaced. And I know, Chief, you had made that decision on this particular vehicle to also rehab this. Savings, you know, over $1 million when you're talking about a rescue truck. You know, you're well into the over $1 million for that. So the $300,000 price tag for the rehab is based on quotes and you know, vendors that had come and looked at the truck, and the chief had a list of items that need to be rehabbed on it. So that's where that dollar figure comes from. Again, it's 20 years old. It's paid its dues, but it is in need of a rehab. And I don't know if you want to talk about it at the end, how you're gonna.
No, we again, prioritizing. I mean, these were both priority one requests. These two requests have been on the capital right along for the last 10 years, and you know, so it's no surprise. And you know, obviously having the discussions that we're having tonight, you know, we made the stance that we could move this 1 year, which will eliminate that $300,000, and then the next item that he'll talk about too, we can move. But it doesn't solve the problem, and we can talk about that after. It just combines it for next year for when we're going to replace a tanker plus that. So. But again, you can continue on your last one.
Number 3, the third item on our list is the rehab of our replacement or rehab of our existing light tower. We call it Loom 1. That is a townwide asset, although it's housed at the Fire Station Number 1, our headquarters here. It's available to all our town departments, and again, that was purchased in 2005 through our emergency management department, and again, it's housed at our station. We take care of it, and it's old sodium vapor lighting, very inefficient. It's got a ton of hours on it, and it's really in need of, we're either looking at to rehab it, to put LED lighting on it, or replace it completely, whichever was more cost effective. So that's kind of looking at light tower.
Those are the 3. Yeah, no, those are the 3. Really, what I would just want to speak about a little bit, and Glenn is well in tune to it, because we had a meeting with all of us in Capital, is...
Pass it out?
What's that?
You pass it out?
Yeah, if you would, actually. I just, it was staggering to me. I did a little chat just a few minutes ago, and I started looking at the allocations for capital that we've always budgeted. And, you know, and if you look at it, from FY19 to 2027, FY19, the town budgeted $3.4 million. In FY20, 3.7 was spent. In FY21, 4.2 was spent. FY22, 3.5 was allocated and spent. 23, $4 million spent. FY24, 3.9 million. Now these aren't exact, but, and now all of a sudden FY25, 26, and 27, we're budgeting 1.2 to 1.3 million dollars. And I feel bad for you folks, because you're here looking at us with $3.5 million of requests, and they're all priority requests, okay? And we did the same thing last year, and the same thing last year. And until we, you know, as we discuss, until we start planning, and if you look at that chart, we were planning. We had plans, and we were covering things, and Mr. Carter knows this. We had a good fiscal plan with the pilot programs, with the solar programs, and they were funding our capital. And all we're doing right now is taking a little bit of free cash, handing us $1.3 million, and it's not fair to you folks, and it's not fair to these folks that we keep doing it. And I did that chart just to show you quickly, the trend can't continue. And I asked, and through you, John, and the town administrator, I gotta advocate, both of you, to really advocate the other select board members and the finance and so forth, that, I mean, next year's gonna be $4 million in request, because all we're doing is taking these and moving them down, and we're gonna be at $4 million in requests, and according to the chart, we're gonna get $1.3 million again. You're just not winning. And again, I can't tell you, I mean, I know some things I would suggest, but I can't tell you how to do everything. But what it does show is we're gonna fail. We're failing. And we're capital is a very important of our budgets in sustaining the community. And we're forgetting it. We really are. And it's gonna catch up on us in the very soon time that, you know, these projects are just gonna start, it's gonna start showing in the community. So again, I don't wanna, it's just kind of my soapbox looking at it, but when you start really looking at it, you can't keep budgeting $1.3 million and then having, I mean, those are what's funded. Those are, I mean, they've been funding the capital in the P years at $4 million. And we're all of a sudden in 2027 at 1.3, and we're not going in the right direction, so.
I want to say thank you. I appreciate you did this. I think some of us remember when it was higher and the calculation was different. I'm not sure why we changed it, but I appreciate this because I feel the same way and I feel frustrated the same way that we just don't have the money put aside like we should.
And it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to us, and it's not, you know, it's just.
It's not.
It's just not. So, I know Eric feels the same way. We'll make any adjustments you want to make. You know, we'll survive. The fires will go out. You know, I'm sure everything else will work around here, but I mean, it's just not the right way to do business, so.
Yeah, just to add, we did have a methodology, we had a calculation it worked for many years, and it got changed, I think, in 2021 or 22. But we had the benefit of a lot of old capital jobs that were hanging out there that got cleared out, that created money to go and do some more capital work. But it's just a matter of time before you started looking at, all you have is free cash to deal with, and that's something that we all got.
And maybe this will spear something if you know, show something that they can see something tangible and go, we gotta make a change. We gotta change our financial policies. We gotta change something to change the direction we're going, so. That's my opinion.
Well, I will say, so, and again, John alluded to it, I don't really know when the change came about of changing the amount of money that went into the capital program. But I know the select board has made a financial policy change to put the solar money back into stabilization funds, including a capital stabilization funds. That's one of them. But it was a change, so, you know, it'll probably take some time to build that back up again, so we're at these levels.
And I think I know I say this every meeting, but I think if we go back to one of these spreadsheets we used to get, which was the 10-year forecast, where we could actually see the calculation of how we were putting money aside for capital, that might help all of us to actually see it again. But we used to get the actual calculation, you know, where the revenues were coming through, the split, all of the expenses above the split, below the split, and it was very helpful. And you would see right there how much is going to be put aside for the future for capital.
I believe you asked for that at the last meeting.
Yeah, I've been asking for a very long time.
Just a question on some of the capital stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Did you say that the $25,000 can be used to either replace it, get a new one, or rehab the old one? Or is it a different number for replace
It would
versus
be a
rehab?
replacement. At this point, it'd be a replacement.
25,000 is a replacement.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do it in that budget.
And Glenn, this is more of a conversation, I guess, maybe to have with the finance director. And as we get some debt dropping off, I'm not sure if a rehab qualifies for any type of debt program, but we should look at what's dropping off the.
She has had those conversations with me about maybe bringing forward a debt program for next year, because again, like the chief is saying, you know, these capital items are just building up year over year. Particularly, let's take a, you know, and it'd be interesting to see this year if we see a couple more rate drops. You know, certainly not while I've been here in Carver, the rates went back up, but previously, you know, when I was in Rochester, the cost to borrow money was less expensive. Let me put it that way. You know, the rates were low. If we see those rates coming back down again, maybe it would be a good time to borrow some of these.
Well, thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Hold on one second before you go. So the first two, I just want to make sure I'm writing this down. PPE, which we know we need, would be priority 1.
Correct.
Rescue would be also a priority 1.
We moved
Or-
it to a 2.
You move it to a 2,
Just so
okay.
we wouldn't have
And
to
the
bump
light
it.
would be a 2,
A 3.
a 3, okay. Thank you, guys. And I know we need the light, I see it at
No, it's all right.
the trunk or treating and everywhere
That's a
else.
3, yeah.
It's used everywhere.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So would the police department like to come up next, if you're ready?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for having us here.
Thank you guys for
Obviously,
coming.
I'm Mark Dupley, your chief. Matt Rayner, your next chief. I'll echo the fire chief's comments too. Obviously, we all agree that nobody puts forth capital plans without a need, not a want. One of these things are because it'd be really cool to have. They're because we need them to provide public safety to the town of Carver. That being said, we also know that, the money, we're going to have to cut something. We've met, as you mentioned, at some other meetings and talked about removing the UTV from our request this year. We feel we can rent one for what we need for the fair for next year and add that to the plan moving forward. We've removed the boat motor and the battery backup for the machine because they don't hit the $20,000 limit that you guys have set. And we're down to 2 cruisers and $30,000 fingerprint scan machine that we absolutely have to have. Both of those are priorities, obviously, because that's what we need to get to the scenes and then process arrests when we make them. The cruiser program has been going on since 2005. We've talked about that numerous times. It's an excellent program. It provides for a cruiser for every officer. It definitely reduces our costs for repair and definitely gives us extended life of the cruisers. That being said, in the past 15 years, we've had a few years where we've been able to not buy cruisers because we didn't have the money and push those off, but we are just pushing them off. Obviously, if we push off cruisers this year, we're going to need to replace more cruisers next year because there is a limited lifespan for cruisers, and even though we get a greater lifespan out of them, they do come to an end. So we've asked for 2 cruisers next year and that live scan machine. It's hard to prioritize between the both of them because the live scan machine is end of life, and as long as it keeps working, it's great, but when it stops working, we then cannot fingerprint arrests anymore. We have applied with the state EOPS for a grant to purchase the fingerprint machine. We won't know if that happens until probably about May. So we may, at that point, after town meeting, maybe we'll pull that 30 grand back, but at this point, we can't say that honestly. If we had to, I guess, my thought process would be to remove one of the cruisers for now and bump that to next year. That would be a $75,000 savings. We don't have a lot to offer in the first place. We're at 150 for the cruisers and 30 for that, so we're at 180, so that might cut us down by 75. And that may help, and may not, but that's probably where we would be at. Unless you say there's no money at all, and then we're just gonna have to make do with what we have to make do.
Okay.
Which we will do, we always have done. But again, as the chief mentioned before, every time we bump something, we're just making next year's bill larger, next year's request larger, and it doesn't go away. I think it's a great idea to put money into stabilization. That sounds like an awesome idea, but if we're not even stable yet, we're not going to get to that part of it. You know what I mean? And I think it's great that we're looking forward fiscally to be responsible of that. We always have. We've never asked you in the past 12 years for anything we didn't need, and we don't want to waste the taxpayers' money, but putting money aside in a savings account when we still have absolute needs that we haven't accomplished yet, I don't know how that works out to benefit anybody, because it's just kicking the can down the road till they more need. So, I mean, that's what we're at right now. We're happy to work with any further, but I don't see how we could reduce past what we've cut back to.
Okay.
And I can't give you a 1 and 2 on those two, because unless that grant comes through and we can remove that $30,000 and just prioritize the cruisers, that would be that. So.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the cruisers or the fingerprint machine?
I was just looking at the photo of the live scan. I wasn't sure if that was like a mobile scan or what that was, but that's the actual scan you use for fingerprints in the police station?
Yes.
And we didn't get a new one when we built the police station?
We have two in the police station. One is used, well, it's a portal one that's used for the fingerprints for firearms licensing. That one came from the old station over. We upgraded the computer in it at that time when we did the new station, but we didn't buy a new one because the expense was so great. And now the whole system is coming to end of life with not just in our department, but almost all the surrounding departments. So there is a large grant that they're applying for to buy them for all of them, but.
So this one would replace the old one? The one that you...
Yes, the one in booking, yes.
And
And that was originally purchased with a grant as well. We didn't have to purchase that one originally. We did upgrade it when we moved into the new station, but it's 4 or 5 years old now, and it's reached end of life.
what is the typical lifespan on those?
Well, we've had the other one for probably 12 years, actually. And I couldn't tell you what they're moving forward with that. This technology changes all the time. But we've had that one for quite some time. But we did do an upgrade probably about 4 years ago to keep it running.
Got it. Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay. I want to say thank you so much for what you did, and then we'll let you know what happens.
And
But
as
we
the
know
fire chief
they're all
mentioned,
priorities.
thank you for everything you guys do. It's a difficult job to be the ones holding the purse strings and deciding, especially with everything. Everybody here tonight has stuff that they absolutely need, and it's got to be a tough decision for you guys. So thank you as well.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Dee, you want to come up for O&M?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. So, my first priority is, and you will see, that is the DEP mandated municipal well. Quick overview on that. That was not on last year's capital. It was mandated by DEP, and what that is, the municipal well that sits out behind the library, there's a treatment building, the well sits out in the woods, there is one well pump in the ground. DEP said they've been kicking this can down the road for about 20 years, but actually, by law, should be a second redundant well because of the housing complex. It changes how that well is categorized as a public water supply. So that well serves town hall, library, police station, fire station, EMS, the old fire station, and the housing complex out back. They are now saying it is time, we're mandating you put in a second well as a backup. So that's where that came from. That's why it was not in capital. We were not aware of it. That is not the whole amount. We're actually looking at about, I believe, $60,000, $65,000 this year that we're working on, because we've already had to start the engineering. That is not an exact number. The engineering hasn't been done yet. They've done the beginning stages of it. We're getting ready to do, once the weather cooperates, the test well. So that's why that is new on FY27. So that is a must for us.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
So you say that's the municipal, the DEP mandated municipal well?
Yes.
110?
Yes.
But then you said it might be 65 this year?
Right now, I'm already having to pay some invoices for engineering, some test drilling, so that's about
So it
$65,000.
could be 175,000 all in?
Probably for the entire cost, yes, all in, correct. Yep. My number 2 is to repair and repaint the middle high school tennis courts and outdoor basketball court. That was actually taken off, if you recall, a couple years ago. I withdrew that because that was a long project, had been on there a couple years, so we resubmitted for this year. That really needs to get done. It's actually becoming a safety issue, the tennis courts out there. Those are actually, they were done my first year here in 2007, so they're 19 years old.
It was CPC money, I think it is.
Correct. Now, it's possible that CPC could fund this.
Well,
That's
we
an-
have CPC here tonight, so after you go,
Yep.
we're going to have
Yep.
Mr. Bentley come up.
Okay. So that is O&M's number 2.
Okay.
My really needs to be done. My number 3 is the replacement of the 2005 dump truck with plow at $95,000. If it has to be pushed out, it has to be pushed out. But
Okay.
that gives us a year and a half out. My number 4 is the replacement of the large 6-wheel dump truck. Currently, that would be $323,000. And my number 5 would be a replacement of a 2007 3/4 ton pickup with plow. So 3, 4, and 5, I can concede. 1 is a must. 2, if it could be funded by CPC, that would be great.
Okay. All right, do you guys have questions for Dave?
No.
No. No.
Just curious, replacement of the 2011 International Snow Fire dump truck, only
Yep.
because it's the biggest number on the list.
Yep.
Are we running into significant maintenance costs on it right now, triggering this replacement?
I am, and I actually have 2 older trucks, John. One sits as a spare, one is in use. This truck has been problematic since we bought it. I think it would be in our best interest. Could probably bring the 2 older trucks, if I auction them, I'm gonna get basically scrap money for them. This truck will probably still bring in, guessing right now in today's market, $30,000 maybe. That could be put back into wherever. It's a problematic truck. It has been since day one, since it was bought. I think I'd be better off trying to keep 2 older ones going, one is a spare, and get rid of this one. So I do have 2 older trucks than this.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in tonight, too.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So with that, maybe we should have Mr. Bentley come up and talk about the CPC. I invited him tonight because I know this came up at our last meeting as well. I think we could all use an education on what can we spend, how's, anything he could transfer some knowledge to us about CPC, we would love.
Okay, I'm Bob Bentley. I'm the chair of the Community Preservation Committee. Been chair for too long. But we actually follow the Community Preservation Act, and that's proscriptive in terms of what we have to do. It only allows us to fund things such as open space, recreation, historic preservation, or affordable housing.
Okay.
And there is some limited amount of things we can do under rehabilitation, but they have to still be under those same categories. So rehabilitation of capital improvement projects is a potential. I sat down and had a meeting with Karen in January, and we talked about coming up with a list of projects that potentially capital improvement rehabilitation projects. But we both agreed at that time that it wasn't really feasible to try to get it onto this year's warrant.
Okay.
In terms of doing things. Karen and I are committed to, I think, getting together, coming up with a plan, sitting down with department heads, because over the years, we've had, the school committees has gotten a fair amount of money for recreation. And prior to that, really the only person that was giving us any projects from the town was the town planner, Jack Hunter. And when Jack left, everything just went away. We got essentially nothing more from any town body. And if you've ever seen me get up on town meeting floor, I exhort people every year to bring us projects.
You do, I've seen you do it. You definitely do.
Community Preservation Committee we can't recommend projects. We have to have a proponent come to us with a project, and then we vet it. If we vote on it and say yes, then it goes to the town's governing body, which is town meeting. So town meeting is the final arbiter of whether the project gets funded or not. I know that there's some requests for a lot of recreation projects, and I can tell you right now that am getting have gotten feedback from my committee, because out of the $11.5 million that we funded since 2007, 67% of that money went to recreation. And there are individuals on my committee who believe that we should put the brakes on that.
Okay.
My reading of the Community Preservation Act requires that we have a public hearing. And that's one where we actually sit and get it recorded so we can actually have the input from the public. So it's basically a reading of what we're planning to do. Because the Select Board put an earlier deadline on us, we ended up having our public hearing in December, and then it got changed to mid-January, so that made it a little bit better, but it's still allowed us to only hold that public hearing. I'm not convinced we have the time to do a public hearing for this town warrant on things that you're bringing up now. Based on what I've seen from what Karen's provided me, it looks like great work, looks like it's good stuff. I would love to see some town department heads come in and ask for money. People say we have a lot of money, but let me just say that every year we have to put 10% of our funds have to be expended on historic preservation, 10% has to be expended on affordable housing, and 10% has to go on to open space. And open space and recreation are put together. Every year since we did the football field, we've been taking care of the open space allocation. So, for instance, we have a $328,000 bond indebtedness that we're paying this year. So, open space is taken care of. But these pots don't diminish; they continue to grow. So, in historic preservation, we have $671,000. In affordable housing, we have $789,000 or $790,000, and that's not from. We're trying to get these projects. Back when Jack was town planner, he came up with a whole bunch of innovative things for affordable housing, and nothing came to fruition. And so, our sole affordable housing project that we're doing now is at 11 Green Street, and that's only going to take $125,000. But that's already been taken out of a prior year. So, these pots of money just keep growing, and they have to be expended on those specific things. So, I've been exhorting people over and over again to bring us more affordable housing projects, but no one's coming up with them. So, I'm more than willing to for the coming year to come up with a plan. Karen and I both know the executive director of the Community Preservation Coalition very well, and we think we can get Stuart down here to give a presentation to all the department heads to say, these are the sorts of things you can really think about. I just know that he's a good cheerleader and can probably get a bunch of people. If we open it up to more than just department heads too, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a wonderful idea. I had one question, because I think I wasn't sure about this, but is it true, this is part I'm not sure, that you are not able to pay for a repair or maintenance of something that already exists?
Maintenance is specifically excluded.
Okay.
We are not allowed to do any maintenance.
Okay. And does that include repairs?
It depends on the repair,
depends on
how it's being defined.
Okay.
If it's rehabilitation of a capital project, we could look at it.
Okay.
And the beauty of being a member of the Community Preservation Coalition is that I can pick up the phone and talk to Stuart or his assistant and get quasi-legal advice without having to go to town council. And
great.
honestly, I believe that the advice that I'd be getting from the Community Preservation Coalition would be probably more accurate than what we would get from Copeland and Page.
Absolutely. So I'm not asking, can we do this project or anything like that, but earlier Dave was talking about the tennis courts. I'm just curious, a project like that, is that something that could potentially go through CPC?
It appears to me that we could do that.
We could, okay. And I'm not asking you, officially to do this, I'm just wondering, is that something that could be done?
I mean, if it gets to a point where I have a question, I'll go to Karen. If both of us have a question, I'll go to the Community Preservation Coalition and, get very specific guidance from them.
Okay.
And then I have a same thing. Maybe with the school building siding, that would be preservation, or is that more maintenance?
That would be maintenance.
And then can I just ask one more question? I'm just curious, my own knowledge. So you told us there was about $671,000 in the historic fund, and then $789,000 in affordable housing, but how much is still remaining in open space?
Well, my belief is since we don't actually have a open space reserve
Oh, we
because
don't. Okay.
because we're spending all of that money on bonded indebtedness, which is open space / recreation.
Okay.
So that, we're paying off the football field and track.
Okay. How much in total does the town have in the fund?
Let's see, we have an undesignated fund balance of $2,113,000.
Okay, 2 million. This is very helpful. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for this information.
So, we're excited to get projects. And when we get historic preservation projects and when we get affordable housing projects, for historic projects, it's put into a historic preservation restriction. So, for instance, the money that's been spent down on Union Society Church in South Carver, there's an exterior
Columns or?
We've done a whole bunch of work on the outside.
Yeah.
So there's an exterior historic preservation restriction that's recorded in the registry, so that it has to stay in that condition in perpetuity.
Okay.
Same way with the Sons of Union Veterans. We did the exterior of that building, and that they put a historic preservation restriction. The affordable house up on Mazzilli
Yep.
Drive and on 11 Green Street. 11 Green hasn't been there hasn't been an affordable housing deed restriction yet, but there is one on Mazzilli Drive, and that's that's being taken care of by Habitat for Humanity, but it's a restriction into perpetuity.
Okay. That's actually was my next question. If it's a house that Habitat for Humanity is working on, or some type of a veteran's home that could be being built, could you also help with those projects?
Yes.
You can, okay.
I mean, if somebody came to us and had a veterans, had plans for, a veteran's home, and I have to say, we were told that the 11 Green Street, even though we tried to designate it specifically for a veteran, we were told we could do that initially, but if the house was going to be turned over, we could not restrict it to just veterans.
Okay. Oh,
Just a
sure.
question, I think I missed
Yeah.
it. The unrestricted aid, the 2.1 million, could that be spent in any of the categories?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so it could be spent for affordable housing, it could be spent for community preservation, or, the historic structures?
Yes.
Okay, so to supplement those other budgets.
And that's the beauty of the unrestricted, as it were, it's not restricted.
I have another question. This one might be too open. So could you ever ask, or so could someone come to you and ask for a certain amount of money to build, say, 10 ramps on a veteran's home in town? But you may not know, are the veterans low income or not low income, but could you annually put some type of a fund aside to do projects like that for veterans in our town?
I think if somebody came to us with a well-thought-out project like that, yeah, it would be acceptable. But there was one suggestion that O&M wanted some fund for cutting trees down in place, you know, when needed in Carver. And it was suggested that possibly CPC funds could be used for that, and that would be maintenance.
Okay, that's maintenance. Oh, wow, okay.
Because it's not, if it was for a specific, you know, if it was for Shirtliff Park, period, it would probably be acceptable, but not just, you know, haphazard.
I just got a question, I guess, on the finance component to it versus I'm really not getting a handle on all these buckets. I know what the buckets are, and I know, for instance, taxpayers pay their 3% surcharge, state matches it, there's a bunch of money. Then that gets put in 10% into these categories. But it doesn't get spent that year. So the next year, does it build or does it drop right into the undesignated fund balance?
It builds.
So when does it drop into the undesignated fund balance?
It doesn't.
So you're saying the $2 million, the $2,113,000 includes the 671 and the 789?
No.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can explain this. So when you receive CPA funds, you have to allocate 10% of those, which would be restricted into either open space, historic, or affordable housing. The balance of that goes into unrestricted, undesignated fund balance and can be used to any one of those particular areas as long as that project is then deemed eligible. So that $2 million sits there. It can be used for open space, historic. It doesn't have a restriction on it. Whereas the 10% that we have to allocate each fiscal year has to go stays in. So when Mr. Bentley was giving you the balances that was in open space, historic, and affordable housing, that money is restricted. It can only be used, and it will grow, as he was saying. Every year it's going to grow because state law, you have to put in 10% of the allocation of the CPA funds that come in.
And so the 2.1 million represents the 70% that's not required to be allocated.
Okay.
And then, and I talked to the town administrator about this as well, and I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is, but I'm gonna ask anyways. One of the perfect uses for these open space land acquisitions, conservation trails, would be when someone comes to us after a town meeting towards the end of the year and says, you know, do you want to exercise your right of first refusal on this land? And we can't do it because we don't have any money for it, and it's in October, November, and they won't wait until the following April for town meeting. So there's no mechanism to take a portion of, say, the $2.1 million and put it into a reserve trust fund account, whatever you want to call it, for nothing but land acquisitions and conservation that can be spent off cycle if something comes to the board. You know, it would have to be voted on at town meeting by residents at a town meeting to see if they want to do it. But it gives the board flexibility to get this open space, because we want a time limit. Someone gives you a right of first refusal, what is it, 90 days or something like that, we have to execute, or some kind of...
I think it's 120.
120, and if we don't have the money, we can't do it. And it's probably something that all towns run into that have these types of funds.
And I'm not sure that there's any real good mechanism for that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, so all of the CPA money that's spent has to be, it's project-based. So you have to have a project, and we can't put a set of money aside and say, okay, we're going to do land acquisitions. The only thing you could do is if you come up and it's outside of the annual town meeting, if you had a special town meeting and you had the public process, you know, prior to that special town meeting, you had the CPC committee that approved a certain project, then you could then go to town meeting. It would have to be special town meeting if it was outside of the annual town meeting.
And we're always looking for innovative ways to spend money if we can.
Sure.
But we have to stay within the bounds of the law. And, you know, we're very, very wary of anything we do on the Union Society Church is, you know, we have to worry about separation of church and state, because back many years ago, the town was contacted by a Virginia law firm asking if we had spent any money on any church. And luckily, they bounded it with an incorrect date, so we could say no. But if we had, then they could have sued us for spending money on Union Society, which is why I call it Union Society. I don't call it Union Church. And when you look at the history of the church, it's non-denominational to start with. So
This was very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, we really appreciate that you came tonight.
Thank you.
And well, maybe we can encourage more department heads to reach out with projects.
Yeah, do you do it at some of your meetings? I'm trying to think, are people aware that if they had a great idea what the process is? Is it coming to your meeting and saying, hey, I want to do this? Is it calling you up and saying, hey, I'd like to do this? What?
some people call me up, not many, but I have all sorts of stuff on the town CPC website, including all the deadlines that we have to have for getting stuff. You know, we'd be happy to have anything brought to town, special town meetings, but they've been pretty few and far between. So, and so it really limits us in terms of, you know, when we can be looking at something. But, you know, if anybody has good ideas, you know, we're more than willing to sit and listen.
And I have your phone number now, so.
I know. I know how to reach you too.
I just wanted to mention to you, Ms. Chair, that I've been working with Mr. Bentley for, well, near a year and a half now, and so over the spring and summer, we're going to be doing a town-wide initiative, and it's going to be, you know, outreach. As Mr. Bentley said, there's a process that you go through, and there's public hearings, there's public meetings where the residents will come in, give suggestions on projects that they're interested in for the town. Sometimes you have, you know, members of schools will come in and they'll have ideas. You'll have the school department, you have your department head. So it's a process. They'll come with their projects. The projects are then presented to the CPC committee. Then they'll have another public hearing with the CPC committee where it doesn't include public comment, but allows the CPC committee to go through all the projects that were brought forth to them. They'll look at eligibility, we'll look at funding, and then they'll have another meeting. It's a process. It usually starts in April, ends in September, with the CPC making a recommendation of projects that they want to fund for the next fiscal year. So that's something that, you know, I've committed to working with Mr. Bentley and, you know, just educating people on the use of the funds. Like we mentioned, you know, members, residents are paying part of their taxes for these projects, and we want to make sure that the funds are being utilized so that the residents are kind of getting, you know, to have projects that are done that are going to benefit them in the community. So that's something that we'll be working for. Moving forward with starting in the springtime.
And I should point out that the CPA is funded through a fee charged at the Registry of Deeds. And because there's been a growing number of towns that are CPA towns now, the amount of money that's given back to us has been going down. However, we're a 3% town, which is the top. And because we're a 3% town, we actually get 3 rounds of funding decisions. So anybody that's a 1% town or a 2% town this year got a 16.9% return. So they got, for every dollar they collected, they got 16.9 cents back from the CPA registry fees. Because we're a 3% town, we got 29.6. So we get a lot more because we're a 3% town. And that's been a benefit for the town for a long time.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that you came tonight.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to welcome Celeste from the Veterans Office.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much for making it to the meeting.
You're welcome. Thank you for having another date and time.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I want to say my one and only request would be a veterans shuttle. I did present it earlier this year, but I do recognize the need that the veterans need as far as getting from Carver to Brockton or any of the medical facilities for their examinations. The shuttle bus right now that I'm looking at is probably like a 20-passenger bus, totaling about $90,000, and will be equipped with a 2-way radio that'll cost about $1,050. In the last meeting that we had, the capital meeting with Glenn and the rest of the department heads, I had mentioned that if I could borrow a bus or get a used bus, that would be wonderful. And Ron and I had collaborated to do a pilot program so that we have a shuttle bus, and that way we can get numbers of how many veterans are on the bus during the course of a week, right? Or a month, right? So I gave the second handout that you have there, it'll be the next symbol there, shows the pilot program, and it's in black and white. It looks like this here, this one here.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
It shows that I only have Route 1 only because due to the time that the drivers are going to be picking up children and dropping them off at the Carver Middle School is between 9:30 and 1. No, 9:30 and 1-ish. And then the second pickup would be 4, and I guess they have a more of a leadway there. And that would be door to door. So because I have these times here, I really wanted to make sure that if you're picked up in the morning at 9:30, that the veterans are encouraged to schedule their appointments between 10:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. But keep in mind that if they have an afternoon appointment, after 12:15 pickup from Brockton to Carver, they'll be picked up at 4 p.m. And also priority is to wheelchair veterans as well. So with that being said, I also put in a fee of $5 round trip, and also to implement scheduling applications as well as payment, which is all in one. And have a designated phone number for those that need to call in if they don't understand the actual, how to do the application. So, you know, it's up to date digitally with the QR code, and all you have to do is scan and pay for it. But that would be my one and only request is to have the Veteran Shuttle program.
So I do have a couple of questions.
Okay, that's
if you don't
fine.
mind. So my first one is, do we know what the volume would be for the town that would, you know, how many people would actually need rides?
That's why we want to do the shuttle, the pilot program.
Okay.
The first portion that I had given you was the request.
Yep.
And the second portion would be, okay, in order for us to save money, I can partner with Carver Middle School with Ron and have veterans picked up that way as well.
So you would look to use one of their special vans or one of their buses?
Well, if they have a 20-passenger bus, that'd be great, you know. And then the driver's already licensed, and you know I don't have to worry about that. So we can split the time in half.
And do you have the expenses for that built in the operating budget?
As of now, we don't. I know that it will be a part-time driver, since their drivers are part-time. Then I will have to find out if we can get the money for the driver.
Okay. And then what, just playing devil's advocate.
No, that's okay.
What happens if the drivers now for the school are part-time, but now maybe they extend to a full-time, 40 hours a week, because they've picked up extra shifts? Does that affect any budgets or, I don't know, OPEB, but anything?
Well, you're saying like if a driver wants to be full-time for the
Well,
school?
You don't know if you're gonna push a driver from, maybe somebody drives, I'm just guessing, 25 hours a week today. But when they pick up these extra hours, they're 40.
Oh, sure.
Come on
sorry.
up. I'm
Yeah,
just
sure,
wondering,
sure.
you know, all the outside scenarios that could happen.
'Cause that would be your
Do we have money in our operating budget to cover? Because I don't know, maybe, you know, do we put them down to full-time health benefits, or,
There's a lot of questions.
you know?
And just,
Exciting.
Yeah.
and just before you start, are you saying that this test program is something you want to do first?
That's correct.
Before you
That's
ask
correct.
for a van?
Yes.
Okay.
If I might just add a little bit of context, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. So again, I sort of started a conversation about this appreciation of this opportunity to collaborate, sort of work together. And Celestine and I sort of had this conversation at our department meeting a couple weeks ago, recognizing that she was looking for the vehicle, but ultimately we have a lot of gap between the appropriation amount and all the asks. And so we have vehicles, right? I mean, we own and operate our own program, and the times that the veterans need fit-ish with what our gap is in schooling, right? Send the kids to school, have a break where potentially you could help veterans, get the kids home from school, after that, help veterans again. And so vehicles, your community has the vehicles. Specialized drivers, your community has the specialized drivers. So like licensed, where Pride, our team, does a really nice job of like keeping all our drivers trained and licensed, especially with wheelchair, folks with disabilities. Like, we have that capacity. The question though really would be like operating cost, right? So that's not in the budget. That would have to be something we'd have to think through. We don't have it in the school department budget. I don't believe it's in the town budget at this moment. So we'd have to think that bit of it through. That's not an answer. However, just thinking about the larger scale of this, you have a benefit of like unified cost. So without having to necessarily, at least right now, buy a new vehicle, you don't have that upfront cost, but also adding a vehicle to your fleet, insurance costs, all those things as well, maintenance, et cetera. Using the existing vehicles is an efficiency you could see, at least in the short term, right, as you think about the pilot and the scale. But from a school department perspective, right now we're still working to think through like what could the logistics look like?
Yeah.
And the answer would have to be something like we'd have to find budgetary means to just cover the upfront cost for the driver ultimately, right? The vehicle is the vehicle, the taxpayers own the vehicle anyway. But to do it, even on a small scale, you'd need the driver cost. To answer your question, Beth, which I think is a really good one, does that jam you up if you get too many hours? The short answer is no.
Okay.
Not to go into too much detail, but 30 seconds if I can. As part of our contract with our drivers union, it would be bid out, so it would be a cycle of drivers. And we have several drivers. I can't promise they'd all want to do it, but it would likely not be a scenario in which a single driver would find themselves in overtime and or some OPEB consideration as well. But I just want to underscore that I don't want to overpromise. It's not ready to go. There would have to be an operating solution there. But I do think, I want to recognize the creativity here in terms of finding this way to collaborate, maximize the existing infrastructure you already have within your community, and just try to serve two populations in a different way.
Yeah, it's definitely a great idea. I just wonder myself, do we have the volume, and are these veterans able to make doctor's appointments in this time period?
Right.
I'm just curious.
Well, here's the thing, usually with the VA, because as you know, I use it as well, I did not include West Roxbury and Jamaica Plain. It said like 2 hours, so it's just not feasible right now. But with Brockton, you can book your appointment anytime between Monday through, Fridays the doctors usually aren't in, but Monday through Thursday. So usually they have 8 o'clock hours, but that 10:30 out, appointment, once they get off the bus at 10:15, they know that they can make their appointment from 10:30 on up to like maybe 12 o'clock, right? If they want to stay in this, over and make an afternoon appointment, then they'll come back on the 4 p.m. shuttle. So my other question was, I know, I have a feeling that you're going to ask it. What happens if the driver is out sick?
Yeah.
And I'm just assuming, Ron, that we probably rotate the driver?
We have
so that
backups.
doesn't happen.
Okay.
See, they have backups, yeah.
That happens. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
drivers are out sick to drive your kiddos to school as well, and we try to have backups. Occasionally we don't, and you get your
Yeah.
double runs. We try to avoid those, but generally speaking, we've got a lot of backups. And given that this is a sort of single run, there are, again, typically a lot of drivers who could, if they wanted to, bid for that run and have the licensure to do it.
Do we have an idea of how much this operation would be? And are you hoping that the $5 round trip will cover it over time?
Well, no, I originally had, in the original request, was a part-time driver at about $25,000, right, Karen? $25,000 for a part-time driver.
Okay.
Yeah. And the $5 I was trying to do, because I noticed that the Veterans Department, they need like a revolving account.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of that as the $5, where the $5 would go.
Oh, so the 5 would come from the veterans revolving account, not the person individually.
Well, no. The $5 that they pay for the ride will go into the revolving account.
Will go into the revolving,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, I understand.
Because as of now, we don't have that.
Yeah.
So I would like to fund that as well.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, yeah.
So if we were able to, say, allocate funds for the, cost of the bus, the driver, the fuel, and whatnot to the veterans' budget, is that something that the state reimburses us 75% of?
Well, I know that, I think that O&M, right? If we use, I'm sorry, if we use our driver, a veteran's driver, like we hired through the town, then that will be a reimbursement. It will be sort of how Council on Aging does with GATRA.
All right, so if you allocated, I'm just making sure, so in the accounting world, if you had allocated the expense for their time over to your department's budget, then you would be reimbursed 75% through veterans?
No, I'm not saying the percentage. I'm not sure
Okay.
how much the percentage would be. I don't know if you know, Karen, what the percentage would be.
Excuse me, through you, Mr. Chair. I don't know what the percent reimbursement would be, but what would happen was we would set up a revolving fund.
Okay.
And then any fees that were charged would go into the fund, and then we would have a fund. If there was a state-provided reimbursement, as we do for the GATRA, then it would go in that, and that would become a source of funding for this program. So it wouldn't have to come out of the operating budget.
The only comment that I have, and I love this program, by the way, I just love it. I'm a little nervous about with the pilot program and the wear and tear on our vehicles when it comes to, the buses, the increased use. But I just hope I hope this works out.
I'm fixated on the volumes. So you must have a little inkling, because people must need rides right now.
Well, that is true. I mean,
Okay.
most of our veterans are seniors.
Yeah.
And they don't mind traveling within the town of Carver, but when it comes to highway or later in the day, they're a little uncomfortable. So I just had a veteran who was in the Korean War. He says, I have an operation today in Brockton. I can get there, but I need to have someone drive me back. And see, that's where that comes in. And not to mention the 4 o'clock pickup time, we could pick them back up and take them back here,
And can I just ask, because I know some facilities and hospitals offer programs like a courtesy coach, or sometimes they'll even pay for your Uber ride. Do we know if that location will
Well,
do that?
I did talk to the Shine representative, and that's usually if you're wheelchair bound, and that's when sometimes when veterans have the examinations for their claims that they put in, they have to be wheelchair bound in order to get there.
I mean, outside of the Shine benefits.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well,
even like
South
every
Shore is
one
like
care-
$40. I mean, like we're only trying.
Every One Care program has transportation, and they use, taxis and chair cars and all that. So identifying those members.
These guys aren't those members.
Right.
So.
Well, there are some veterans that do have.
One
There
Care.
are. Yes, I do. I have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some facilities themselves will actually pay for your transportation. I'm just asking if Brockton VA is one of them, I'm not sure.
No,
They
I
won't
know
help?
that, yeah.
Okay.
There's no connection there. You have to get from here to there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because, some hospitals, they do want to help you move to go home because they need that bed for someone else.
Yeah.
And they will help you with transportation, so I didn't know if Brockton would.
It's just that we're in a nice little area now, suburban, or whatever you want to say, very quiet and not a lot of transportation, but that grass that the seniors have, the veterans have, to get from here to there, point A to point B, But, I did ask a lot of VSOs, what are you doing for your veterans? And a lot of them, they really don't share their vans or anything, and it's just kind of strange. But the thing is they're farther away from Carver than, and how they get the van to us.
So no inkling though on like how many?
I tried everything.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking, that's one story, but are there 10 a week, 5, 50? I'm not sure.
The numbers would be, I counted, even last year, I want to say about 20.
20 people a week need a ride?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is, some are driving and they shouldn't be driving.
Right.
Then we got the other numbers, and then once their kids find out, they're going to take advantage of what we have available as well. So that's why I thought that the pilot program would be a good idea, because we can get those numbers in.
All right, so let's just say, how long would you pilot for?
Let's see, this is what, February? I would say maybe till the end of the year. Can we give it 6 months? I think that's a good number.
I don't know. I'm just wondering, is this project really going to actually happen in FY27, or is it going to be FY28? Because you need to do a pilot program first.
Right. And I think that it should be FY27.
Oh, you do?
Start in FY27.
The pilot program.
The pilot
The
program.
pilot, but what about the purchase of the vehicle?
So once I get the numbers for, through the pilot program, then we can think about, getting a purchase of the vehicle. And then please keep in mind, that's a one-time purchase. I was thinking about a newer vehicle. That way we don't have that much maintenance, because we're doing a lot of mileage there. If you get something that's, and this is just me talking as a woman, you get a used vehicle, I'm not going to know what to do, but the driver should. But what happens if they break down on the highway? There's a lot to think about when you do a used vehicle versus a new vehicle,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Through you, Ms. Chair, so I understand that the capital need here is the van, $90,000. And I think the pilot program is an excellent alternative, because we do not have funding this fiscal year. We don't have funding in the capital budget, and we don't have funding in the operating budget. So if it's a pilot program through the school department, and that's something that they can help absorb some of the costs, I think it's a great idea, whether it's for 3 months or 6 months.
I just don't think they're able to absorb the operating cost of the driver or the fuel.
I would just underscore that, and just if I could just add to your point, Ms. Praval, for a hot second. I do think, an efficiency of things like maintenance and insurance, that's easy enough. But I do think that we don't currently have the driver's salary in our budget. And fuel, we can sort of work together on, because we all use the same fuel depot, but really it's the driver's salary we'd have to think about. And I would underscore your point about what is the scale. So if the scale is super low, then maybe that's something we can work through on a pilot. But if the scale is really high, we'd have to find a way to really formalize that in your budgets, just as both budgets, however you want to. The accounting, I'd defer to Karen certainly, but it's got to go somewhere to absorb that salary in some capacity.
Yeah.
Just, FY27 starts in the summertime, right? Would there be more availability of vans in the summertime to test out the pilot program?
The vehicles would never be a trouble. We have enough vehicles.
Yeah.
The question would just be paying the drivers, right? Because we don't have, this is not a service that we've built into our operating budgets now or into the future. So really the only cost we'd have to think about would be, to your point of scale, what is the scale, so we understand what that number would be, and then we'd have to think about where that would go in the budget and defer to, if that can even go in the budget. I don't want to make any promises we can't deliver on.
Right.
But that would be the critical step for the school department to be able to help with the rest of it. And I'm not saying get it decided here now, I just wanted to name like that as the hurdle we see.
I commend you both for thinking outside the box to try to make this work. I really do. I think it's a great collaboration. If it could ever kick off, it does sound like a great thing for everyone.
If I could add one last
Sure,
thing. So I think
yeah.
next steps, from a logistics perspective, the next couple of weeks, we're just going to look at our map and our fleet and
Okay.
just try to think about what is the ideal vision that we have for the Veterans Program and see if can we fit that vision into our existing schedule and staffing and routes and. And then if the answer is yes, the next question would be, okay, what is the scale of that? And then is there a way to put that into a budget somewhere?
Okay. And maybe we could even reach out to the veterans location in Brockton and tell them, we're thinking about doing this, but could you help with our residents in Carver? And if they need to book appointments in these certain hours, could you help us with that?
Right, exactly. So they can go in, you mean in the time frame?
Yeah, in
of
our
that, yeah,
time frame.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely, I'll do that.
Sorry to jump in.
Thank you so much.
Okay, do you guys have anything else?
Nope.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
thank you so
Thank you.
much.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. All right. Do you think we've met with everyone tonight that was coming?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I know. All right. So I know we skipped over you guys at the beginning. Did you have any updates for us?
Sorry, one
Oh,
quick thing,
sure.
but just on the,
Yeah.
didn't we have something in here for the EMS chief, or was that gonna be? paid for?
He gave us something, but I didn't know if we wanted to talk about it at the next meeting or.
Maybe the next meeting?
I don't know, but I do have it if you'd like to talk about it now.
No, I probably have him, he can present it.
Yeah, well, I was gonna see if you wanted to come, but I did bring it. We do have on the 25th. Now it might just be recreation coming, because I thought veterans was gonna come on the 25th.
Okay.
To see if there are any updates. Yeah, I was trying to balance the two nights, but a lot of people have been invited outside of here, so that's why they're coming. Everyone showed up tonight. Do you guys have any updates for us?
I think we can give, have you had a preliminary number on the number for capital? So we have come up with a number for capital, right?
Okay. Do you want to just let us know again what it is so we're all on the same page?
Sure, Karen, do you want?
Sure, the number that's been allocated is $1,310,295. That's coming from free cash. And we have $70,000 that's coming from ambulance receipts.
Okay.
There's a separate issue, you're gonna provide us with the complete breakdown of the certified free cash just for the select board, so we can see where the buckets are being inserted.
Yes.
And I think I sent an email about how did we get to that number 1.3 million?
So we have money factors that we're looking at. Some of them are, some of the biggest requests, I can tell you right now, are our healthcare costs that are going up dramatically. And then also a subsidy for the North Carver Water District. Those are two of the big hitters on free cash. And then we do have pilot money that goes into these stabilization funds allocated by our policy. So.
To me, it's very disappointing. I'm just gonna put that out there. Just like we saw earlier with the fire, it just doesn't seem like we have a plan any longer, and I haven't seen the calculation of, like we used to get on a forecast sheet.
Yeah, is there a sheet? Could you show me that sheet?
I can email it to you. I have a
Okay,
copy.
yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
The sheet.
The sheet, it's like the magic
it.
sheet. It's an old sheet that we used to always get. Again, you knew that the current year was probably pretty close, but the future years might not be, but at least it gave you a plan to look at.
Mhm.
And it showed you where all the revenue was coming from and where it was gonna be, and the split, where it was gonna be spent, and it had a capital plan on it.
But what it did was, it listed again,
Yeah,
I've been through it so many times with the board, it
know.
worked. It was
Yeah.
listed all the revenue, then you took out the solar money. That got pulled out and put down to some smaller bucket. And then the amount of free cash was estimated into a bucket. So it took the money out of the operating budget before it was spent. In '22,
Yeah.
they stopped doing it, and all the solar money went in the operating budget, and that's when our
Exactly.
capital dropped.
that's when we
Yeah.
went out of balance.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's just gonna take us a little time to build it back up again. Select board has made the policy now to put the solar money back into the stabilization funds, which capital is one of them.
But we never completely relied on the free cash.
Yeah,
for it.
we knew that free cash, there's an argument to be made that, only use your free cash for your capital, and ours, we knew that argument didn't work 10 years ago. So that's why we aggressively built a capital program in place that if you found the old schedule, my guess
have it.
is by the time you look at, we were estimating, it was like over $2.7 million of capital money before free cash.
Yeah.
Was supposed to be allocated to capital, so there wasn't supposed to be this free cash, who's gonna get it,
Yeah.
scenario.
It seems to me, and again, because I don't see the calculation the way we used to, that we've just completely increased the operating budgets. Because I don't know where else it would have went.
Yeah,
I
again,
mean, it's
It would've
got
been
to
the- it
went
would've been the
somewhere.
operating.
It's got to be in the operating.
Through you, Ms. Chair, I just wanted to mention, so when you look at the operating budget, you have more than $500,000 increase in just salaries alone. I mean, a lot of the expenses, I can provide you with a balanced budget spreadsheet. I can show you a copy, and it has a list of our total revenue sources, so what we bring in, for our taxes, free cash, state aid, and it has a whole list of how each item of our revenue is broken down for every single project. So if you want, I can forward that to you. It may be similar to a
I don't
spreadsheet
think
you had
we-
in the past.
I don't think
I don't know if you need
that we would get down to that level for every single item of the revenue, but it gave you the full story, is what it did.
I think if you look at this spreadsheet, this gives you a full story. It's one page. It's not, 5 or 6 pages, but it shows you the allocation. It shows the projects of what is being funded with free cash. And I think that this year we had other, in expense, of our healthcare that had to be addressed. And I think that's one of the areas where
But there's
a lot of money.
there's two fundamental changes, though. We went from saying, hey, here's all of our raise and appropriate revenue coming in. Hey, here's all our expenses. What's left over, we'll put that into reserve. Well, guess what? Nothing was left over because it was a balanced budget. All the money that came in was spent. So the big change we did was now we said, before you spend that money, we're taking it out.
Yeah.
right.
So that's, now we're going back to what you had just said. Well, we signed contracts, we gotta fund them. We're not saying, hey, let's make the tough choice first. Follow your policies, take your money out, and live with the balance. And then when you've done that exercise and you've found out where you can cut, what you can change, everything else, if you're still short, then you can go back and say, okay, maybe we have to reduce that reserve that we started out with, taking out and putting aside, and we have to trim it, right? But instead, we went the other way. We just said, no more reserves, all the money that comes in goes out. And that's got us back into just using free cash. So.
And I think with it, Karen, this is 1 year. I think Beth is looking more for like a 10-year.
It's 10, it was always 10.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be meeting in a couple of weeks, all the department heads to look at the 5-year, the 10-year capital plan. So like you're saying, we need to see what our expenses we have. I mean, just because things are being pushed out this year, we're going to still need to fund these. So, I'm looking at our 10-year plan, mainly looking at 5 years right now, because they have to be funded next year. We have, cycles in terms of, a lot of the vehicles, so we're looking at, so I'll be looking at, looking at our fleet, looking at the, the lifespan for these different vehicles and when things need to place. The same thing with software. We don't have anything for IT, for capital this year. But there are IT, our projects that we're currently taking on right now that, we're going to have licenses. There's different things that, go on a cycle, and it might be every 3 years.
Well, that was why we had that sheet.
Yeah, so we'll be working on that. Haven't done that right now, but we'll be working on it in a couple of weeks for the 5-year plan.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything else?
Nope.
Any public comment?
I love the sheet too.
It was the best sheet. I've been talking about it for years. It's
I've handed it out
nothing.
many times.
Me too. I've got so many copies of it.
I hate to say, but I think John has showed me the sheet.
Yeah, it's like this big, huge piece of paper. It's nothing, I don't know, there's no sparkles or glitter, but it just tells you the story. And you could see what was above the split. You could see the old colony project. You could see that's where the grant program was. You could see everything that would come out before we would then do our 70-30-ish split.
The sheet officially stopped prior to Karen's predecessor came
Yes.
on board and stopped the sheet.
They
Because
stopped that.
it asked tough questions. It made you make tough choices.
It did.
I'd be interested in seeing the sheet.
Okay.
Because it's definitely something, I mean, I think that we've worked really well together and presenting things and putting things together based off of everybody's input
Okay.
and suggestions. So I definitely would be interested in seeing that sheet and seeing something that we can put together that mirrors that.
Okay.
Because then it takes in, you know, the interest that you have, and I'm assuming other people may want to look at that as well. So I'm definitely interested in looking at that. If you can get that to me, I can
Yeah,
see what I
I'll
can
do
do.
it tomorrow. I know I have it.
Okay.
I have it in Excel, and I know I have big
I've got it too.
copies of it. I'm just gonna go through my files, but I definitely have it. And I know that, I believe that's what Chief Weston's also talking about, you know, that was really what helped us build our capital.
Like 7 years, we didn't have any problem
Okay.
with capital.
None. Yeah. So our next meeting is on February 25th. We do have recreation that night.
25th or?
Oh, am I
Is it
right?
20? Let me double check.
Sorry, it's 2 weeks from tonight.
You're probably right, you usually are.
Double check me, double check me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I had it in my phone and it's.
All right,
Yeah, you're
perfect.
right.
Okay, so speaking of North Carver Water District, do they have any capital that we should invite them to that night?
They did not submit a capital request, but I was at a meeting with them this evening, and they have meters. The meters are $65,000. They did not put a capital request, but I can work with Mr. Belbin
Okay.
and see if he can put together a request similar to the request that we put together. But that's something that they definitely are looking to do.
Okay.
They don't have funding for it, but it would be a capital request, and those are meters around $65,000.
Yeah. So I know it's not on for FY27, but would you guys like me to invite them to talk about the capital that they may need?
Yes.
Okay. So we're definitely going to have recreation that night. I'll invite North Carver Water District. And I wanted to put out there the Old Colony VOTEC. Would you like me to invite them to one of our meetings, Aaron Polanski, to talk about the project and what's going on with that?
I think we should, so for transparency purposes. so.
I wanted to throw that out
Well, I'm
there.
trying to think, I know that they want to come back in with the same plan,
Yeah.
but I just don't know if and I'm not sure what the time frame is and when they're gonna do it.
I don't know either.
So you might, we can have it. There's no, I'm just saying, it might mean more if we do it closer than when they're gonna
Okay.
go on the full court press and try to market it to other towns.
Did you
Sure.
say same plan, they're not changing it?
I think so, yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, the project is still the same project, that,
Yep.
in fact, they can't pull it off the table to be able to get the state funding. And John, they were, I don't want to use the word, they were undecided on a date for the election. They were thinking either June before summer or in maybe late September after summer. They really hadn't nailed down a date when I talked to them.
That doesn't matter
So
to
we
me,
can wait.
but he may want to do it. Maybe you can ask
Yeah.
Aaron. He may say, I want to wait until, I don't know, 3 months before the vote or
Okay.
something like that.
I just think, you know, this is it's a capital project. I know it's in Rochester, but we do send our students there, and we are liable to pay a portion of it.
Right, you're gonna be funding it, so.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, when he was leading up to the vote for, November 18th, he was more than happy to come to any meeting
Absolutely.
you invited him to, so
He is.
I think if you
He's
do
open.
invite him, I can't imagine he'd turn you down.
No.
He may want to do it closer
He'll
to the vote.
repeat, he'll go this time and next time.
Yeah, that's what I mean, he was more than willing to attend.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had him come to Capitol, and I'm wondering if anyone, we don't have to do it in February. We could wait till even after town meeting. It's up to you guys.
You can do it twice if he wants to come twice.
Yeah. You know what, I'll put it out to him and see if it works,
Yeah.
and if not, we'll invite him to a future meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, anything else anyone has?
Nope.
Okay, and 6 PM still work for everyone for next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So I make a motion to stop our capital meeting. What is the date? 2/10? Oh, 2/11, 26.
All right, so you make a motion
At,
to adjourn?
what is it, 8:45 PM? I make a motion to adjourn.
7:46.
7:45, sorry.
It's okay. I have a motion made to adjourn. Do I have a
Second.
second? Okay. Thank you. All right, motion made and second. Do I have everyone's vote to adjourn?
Aye.
All those in
Aye.
favor? Aye. All right, thank you guys. The ayes have it.